Hi everyone, this is Renan, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to work with numbers in Python. So in this video I will be showing you some mathematical operations, some comparison operations, and what are some functions that every developer should know when working with numbers in Python. Alright, so let's get right into it. And first of all, I will create a variable called result here. Let's store a number to this variable. And the first thing that I want to teach you is a new function that we can use in Python, and I will print it. And the function that I want to teach you is the type function, and this function is used for us to know what is the type of a variable. All right, so I will use this in our result variable, and I will print the result for us to see. And as you can see, the type of a number is integer. So as we have seen in previous videos, the two main types that we have for dealing with numbers in Python are integer and float. And when we create a whole number, we are storing an integer, and we can hold in here both positive and negative numbers the same. And if we want a number with decimal places, then this will be characterized as a float variable. And if I run my codes now, as you can see, we have a float. All right. And one concept that we need to understand about numbers in Python is that both integer and the float data type can hold as large of a number as you want. So we can store large number like this with no problem. So I'll print it so that you can see, and this can be negative and positive. All right. So right now I will remove this type function here, and I will teach you some mathematical operations in Python. So to perform addition, we can use the plus sign. So it's just as we expect, right? And if I run this, we'll have 2 plus 2, which is 4. And for subtraction, we use the minus sign, and right now we'll have the result of 0. And there is also multiplication and division. So for multiplication, we have the asterisk sign. So 2 times 2 is equal to 4 as well. And the division is a bit of a special case. So we use the forward slash to divide 2 by 2. And the result, as we can see, is a float. So we have a decimal place here. So Python is automatically converting the result of this expression here to a float, and we can check that by using the type function in here. And if we run this code, we can see that the type is float, and the previous operation was the multiplication, which would give us an integer. All right, so what we can do to have an int as a result of a division operation is to use the floor division, which is another operation that we have in Python. And the difference between the normal division and the floor division is that with the floor division, you will be having only part of your result. So the decimal places will be dropped. So as you can see now, you only have the 1, you don't have the dot 0 anymore. And everything that is to the right of your number will not be stored in the final result, only what is to the left of your dot. All right, so for example, if I have a 5 in here and I floor divide it by 2, we will have only the 2. But if I was performing a normal division, we would have the result of 2.5. All right, so it doesn't matter if it's 2.5, 2.9, 2.3, all the result will be 2 because this is a floor division. Okay, so there's also the exponential operation. So if we have the 2 here and we want to raise it to the power of 2, so 2 times 2, the result would be 4 in here as well. But if we have 2 to the power of 3, the result right now would be 8. All right, so this is one way where we can use exponentiation in Python. Another way is a built-in function that we have called pol. So basically in here we say what is the base number, and then we want to raise it to the power of 3, and now we will have the same result, which is 8. All right, so there are those two ways in which you can use exponentiation in Python. And the last operand that I want to show to you is the modulus operator. So the modulus operator can be used with the percent symbol, so 2, and in here I can have a 2 as well. And what this operator will do is basically return to us what is the remainder of the division of 2 by 2. So 2 divided by 2 has no remainder, so the result will be 0. But if we had an odd number in here, if we divide 5 by 2, there will be a remainder, which is 1. So one thing that's cool about the modulus operator is that we can use it to understand if a number is even or odd. So when we divide a number by 2, the remainder, if a number is even, should always be 0. So for 5, for example, we have a remainder of 1, but if we divide 4 by 2, we know that the remainder will be 0. Alright, so 4 is an even number and 5 is an odd number. Alright, and in Python we can also check for that by using the comparison operators, and we will see more about comparison operators in our video about conditionals, but in here we will explore them already. Alright, so how we could, for example, check if the result of our operation is 0. To do that in Python, we can use the equals, which is the comparison operation, and then we could use the 0 here. Alright, so the difference between this line and this line is that in here we are comparing the first value to the second value, and in here with only one equal, we are assigning the result of this operation to this variable. Alright, so 1 equal is the assignment operator and 2 equals is a comparison operator, which is checking if this value is equal to this one. Alright, and as we know, the result of this operation will be 0, and 0 is equal to 0. The return will be true. Alright, and if we want to check if 0 is not equal to 0, we add an exclamation here, so this means not equal. Alright, so if you run this code, we will receive a false, which is a Boolean value. And there is also the greater than and less than operator, so let me just delete that here, and I will add here 2, and 2 is greater than 0. And if we save that and if we run this code, we will see that this is true because, okay, 2 is greater than 0, but we can also check if 2 is less than 0. So in this case, this is false because 2 is not less than 0, right? And we could also check if it's less than or equal to 0. So in this case, this number 2 is greater than 0, so the return will be false. But if we have 0 here, the return will be true. Alright, and the same thing for the greater than. So this is the sign for greater than or equal to 0. So it will be true both for 0 and for any number greater than 0. Alright. And now another operation that I want to show you is how to increment a number in Python. Alright, we'll have our print result back in here, and let's suppose that I have the variable result which is equal to 1, and before printing it I want to increment this value by 1. How can I do that in Python? So the way that we do that is to take our variable result and we want to assign a value to it, which is the result of the variable result increased by 1. So what we want to do is to assign a value, as I said, and the value that we want to assign is equal to results plus 1. And as the value here is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2. If we print this, we will receive 2. Alright? And the same thing can be done with the minus and with the multiplication, etc. And there is a shorthand for this notation that I am presenting here to you. So if you want to update the value of a variable by incrementing it or subtracting a value, we can just use the plus and the equals, and this is basically the same thing that we had before. So I'll run it so that you see. Alright, so if we want to subtract it by 1, we can do this as well. Alright, so it's 0. and we could do this for multiplication, division, or any mathematical operation that I have presented to you so far. And as I have said, this is the shorthand for this notation here. All right, everyone? And now let's talk a little bit about mathematical expressions in Python. Okay, so let's suppose that I have this operation here, which is 2 times 2 less 1. And what do you expect that will be the result of this operation here? And in truth, this will go just as you expect. So first we will multiplicate 2 by 2, and then we will subtract the value, which will be the return of this operation here, by 1. And then 2 times 2 is 4, minus 1, it's 3. All right, so this will follow the PEMDAS order of operation. So first of all, the operation which will be performed is the one which is inside of parentheses. Then we will go to exponentiation, and then we have in the same level multiplication and division, and for last we will have the addition and subtraction. All right, so I will give you a quick example of that. So 2 times 2 minus 1 divided by 2. And the order that will go here is that first we will have this multiplication, then we will have this, and then we will subtract the return of this operation to the result of this operation. All right, so as we can see, the return is 3.5 because 2 times 2 is 4. Then in here we have half, so 4 less half is 3.5. All right, however, if we had parentheses here, then things would change a bit, right? Because the first operation which will be performed is 2 minus 1, which is 1. Which operation then will be performed first, the multiplication or the division? Well, in Python, the operation will always go from left to right. So if we have two operations which are on the same level, such as division and multiplication, or addition and subtraction, the order will be always from left to right. All right, so first the multiplication will be performed, then the division will be performed. So you need to have that in mind when dealing with numbers in Python. All right, so when we run this code, the result here is 1, because 2 minus 1 is 1, multiplied by 2 is 2, divided by 2, it's 1. But if we changed the order here and we had the division coming first, then the multiplication, we would have a different result. We would have 4, because 2 minus 1 is 1, 2 divided by 1 is 2, multiplied by 2 is 4. All right, so as you can see, the order of operation is from left to right and following the PEMDAS, which is parentheses, exponentials, division and multiplication at the same level, and subtraction and addition at the same level as well. And now, everyone, I will show you some functions which we can use with numbers as well. And one function that we have is the ABS, which is the absolute. So this function will always return the absolute value of the number that we passed to it in here in the parameter. So minus 5 will return to us 5. So if we had an operation here and we didn't know if the result would be positive or negative, but we always wanted a positive value as the result, we can use the absolute function. And another function that we have for dealing with numbers is the round function. So for example, if I had a 3.5 and I want to round it, so the result would be 4 because it's rounding up. And if I had 3.3, the result would be 3 because it will always round to the nearest integer. All right, so you can also choose with the round function what is the decimal places that you want to be returned. So for example, if you pass 1 here, we will have the result of 3.4, and if we had 2 in here, we would have another decimal place to our final result. All right, so this in short is the round function. And for last, I want to show you an interesting case that we have in Python, which is dealing with strings, which will hold numbers. So if I had one string A and one string B, and both are holding strings, and in here we have the addition of A plus B, what do you think that will be the return of this operation, right? So we have two numbers in here. So the expected result is 200. But when we run this code, the actual result is 100, just concatenated one with the other. So basically in here we are using concatenation of strings, all right? But if we want to actually treat those numbers as actual numbers instead of strings, what we can do is casting in Python. And casting is basically converting the data type to another data type, and we have done this before, and we have used the function int for that. So the int function will take the input and it will convert it to an integer. All right, so if we have the int function in here as well, then the result instead of 100 would be 200 as expected. Alright everyone, so this is it that I wanted to show you for this video, and if you liked it, don't forget to leave your like below and also subscribe to my channel so that you'll be notified when I post new videos here in the future. Alright, so see you in the next one.